I'm very excited because today we're going to talk about how to get a professional looking film color grade with just a few clicks. Check this out. I don't know if you're like me, but I really used to struggle with color grading. I love doing films, but color grading was so tough for me, and I really spent hours over the years kind of learning about color. But it always takes time, to get that look that you're after, for each film, especially when it comes to matching, shot to shot or camera to camera if you're using multi-cameras. And don't get me wrong, I love playing with color, something that I absolutely love. But I actually ended up buying many LUTs over the years, searching for that, quick color grade, something that I can do quick, that I like, that I can move on to other parts such as story and things like that. And I never could find it. And LUTs, they really don't know the color science of your camera. And they often, for me at least, they seemed to muddle my image a little bit, and I had to spend time correcting it anyway, and not to mention having to do that for every clip or every different camera that you had. And so it just wasn't a solution for me. Even though I tried to create that, it just wasn't something that I could click on, be happy with, and move on. And for clients that need a quick turnaround time, but still have great colors and my style, the process I'm about to show you has really been gold for me, and I'm so excited to show and share it with you. And it now allows me to focus more on other things such as the story, and even give a quick turnaround time from films. It's been really that beneficial for me. Now with just a few clicks, I can get a wonderful color grade where I can choose from a variety of different film stocks to emulate. And let me share with you my secret. I'm so excited for this, and as you can tell maybe from my thumbnail, I don't know if you look at it that close, but it's on my thumbnail. I use Final Cut Pro, and I color grade with a great plugin called Film Convert. And Film Convert is basically a plugin that you can add. I think it's available for Final Cut Pro, DaVinci Resolve, and Premiere Pro. And it's kind of like a smart LUT. I say that because it uses the color science of your camera and converts that to different film stocks that you can choose from, that you want to emulate. And let me tell you, it's not just talk, it works amazingly well. It works really good, especially for cameras that have 10-bit color like the A7S III. And for me, I exclusively use it for Final Cut Pro because when I shoot, I mainly shoot with the Sony A7S III, and I shoot in ProRes Raw from the Atomos Ninja V monitor / recorder. And if you don't know, ProRes Raw on Final Cut gives you flexibility in post. It's like it takes the stress away when you shoot. Because what you can do is that you can choose the white balance and the ISO in post. And it's just like you're on set. I've tested this out, and maybe someday I'll show you. You can go outside, shoot at white balance, 6,000, and you come back and you want to change it to something else, it absolutely matches what you would shoot on set. So I absolutely love it, and it doesn't degrade your image at all. So let's go into the computer and I can show you my process. So let's go. Okay, so I brought in raw clips, the same ones that you saw earlier. And we know they're raw because when you go to the clip, select the clip, and you go to the info up here in the right corner, you can see I can change now my ISO, I can change my exposure offset, and I can change my color temperature. Now you don't want to really change it now because when it looks like this, you can't really tell what it looks like. So when you bring it in, they're both going to say none. This is the raw file. The first thing you need to do is select your raw to log conversion. So here is where I know I shot this in S-Log 3, S-Gamut Cine. So I'll choose that. And right away, you see that looks like a normal log file, like you would just record it without recording RAW. So that's kind of what, when you bring it in, the first thing you have to do is that. What's cool about shooting RAW, other than changing the ISO and the white balance, which is amazing, is that you can also choose the different color sciences of different camera manufacturers, which is really cool. So say that whole debate, Sony colors versus Canon colors versus Nikon colors, you can actually choose whatever color you want. Say you wanted it to look like Canon, you choose that. I don't do that here because when it's in log, you can't really tell. But I will come back to this and I'll show you what I do. So for now, I'm going to choose Sony S-Log3 S-Gamut Cine. And it's right away, you see it looks like a log file. So the next thing I want to do is bring over the film emulation, film convert nitrate. So we're going to drag that over. You can double click and it'll come up here either way. And you go to your effects. And first thing you want to do is open up your controls. Now, what is different about film convert is that it's using the color science, like I said before, of your camera. So you have different camera packs that you can download. What you're going to want to do is download those camera packs and then you can select them here. So here I'm going to select my camera, which is Sony A7S Mark III. And then I know that I shot this in S-Log3 S-Gamut Cine, so I choose that. But if I happen to, shoot it in S-Cinetone or S-Log3 S-Cinetone, I can choose that here. So if you shoot in different cameras and they use different, color profiles, you can just choose it here. You choose your different camera, choose your different color profile, and you can match them so much easier. So I am going to choose S-Log3 S-Gamut Cine. Right away, you see an image, which is kind of cool. So you have basically all these different film stocks that you can choose from. And so these are film stocks. You can kind of go to their site and kind of see what each film stock does. My favorite one right now is FJ8553ET. And what that is a Fujifilm Eterna family of color stock. So it's a motion picture color stock, and I do know that it is a daylight balanced. So I'll show you what that means later. But as you can see, it kind of changes it right there, right? So right away you get a good color. I love that color. You can choose any other colors. You can scroll through them and see. For this, we're going to go ahead and choose the Eterna 8553 Fuji. So a couple things that you can do right off the bat. You can change your film color. Actually, before we do that, I want to close this down, because I do want to show you something. If you go back to your information here, and you remember how I told you can change your ISO, you can change your white balance. I know what the film stock is, a white balanced color film stock. So I'm going to put in 5600 as my white balance. And right away, you know that, okay, it looks a little bit better than what I had before because it's balanced for that white balance, and I know that I did that. So I can actually choose what my white balance is after the fact. You can change the white balance in Film Convert Nitrate. You can change your white balance in any program, but it's going to muddy it a little bit. It's not the same as doing it with RAW, and it's like your camera doing it on site. So it's really nice. And say this image is too bright. In Film Convert Nitrate, you can bring down your exposure. You can brighten it. You can do certain things to it, but that does degrade your image a little bit. Another amazing thing of shooting RAW is you can actually change it here. You can change your ISO, and you can actually change the brightness of your image, your sensitivity to light here, and not degrade your image, just like doing it on set, which is amazing. So I'm going to bring mine down a little bit. Actually, I'm going to leave it fine, because what I want to show you is really the secret sauce that I've been loving lately. So this is the Sony S-Log S-Gamut Cine RAW to log conversion. Like I said before, you can choose different cameras. What I've been loving lately is the Canon N-Log. I choose that, and boom, look what it does there. It does something magical to like the highlights, where it just makes them creamy and not blown out. I didn't change anything else except for the S-Log. Now I could bring this down and try to get close to it, the ISO on the S-Gamut, but it's just not, to me, it's not the same as choosing the end log. So one thing I've been doing on every on every color grade I've been doing lately is choosing the Nikon end log, and I absolutely love it. Once you choose your film stock and you do log file, you'll see film color and Cineon to print film emulation. And let me explain those a little bit from what I understand. So your film color is just that. You're changing how much of that film color you want. And normally what I'll do is I won't go all the way. I'll kind of go to around 84, 85 and kind of like look at it. And I think 85 looks good. This is Cineon to print film emulation. And basically back in the day when you shot analog, they had to convert that analog image and basically they scanned it in, and when they did that, that's what this is emulating. It's the Cineon to print film emulation. What I like to think of it as is basically the color contrast, and you'll see what I mean. You go down, you'll see very little contrast. You go up, you'll see the contrast changing. And normally 100 for me is a little bit too much contrast, so I kind of, again, bring that back down. Around 80, 75 to 85 is what I love to do. So the Cineon to print film, like I said, I like to think of that as contrast, color contrast. So I normally keep that around 85. The other thing I do, which is probably different than most people, but it's what I do, I don't like to see all this grain sometimes in my shot because it looks kind of like noise to me sometimes. For most of my films, I bring my grain all the way down. I know that's a little different. For photos, I love adding grain. But for video, a lot of times I won't add it unless it's more of a stylized look. So here, I'm going to bring my grain strength down. But if you did use grain, here you have so much to control. You can actually put grain just in the shadows or grain in the midtones. And this is going to emulate what the film stock does. But you can have all sorts of control. You can also control, your shadows, midtones, and highlights, just like you can in many other programs. If you wanted to add a fade, you can add a fade to your look. I kind of keep that very minimal, but you can do that there. And then you can also, adjust your midtones, add different contrasts. You can see here that, on this waveform, you can see I'm kind of spreading that out a little bit, right? Adding a little more contrast, bringing my highlights up and moving my midpoint around. But what I like to do, what's easier for me, is I go into Color Finale Pro. It's another plugin. And I do two things in here mainly. I adjust my contrast, and I'll watch the waveform. See how it kind of like moves that in a really nice way. I don't have to do much, so I add a little bit of contrast here. Some shots more than others, but I kind of like keep it around 3. Then I always add sharpness because I take my sharpness down. So I add sharpness to about between 25 and 30, and it really does help. So with this Film Convert Nitrate and Color Finale Pro, I get a really nice look right off the bat. Now, what you can do is that you can save this as an effect. So what I've done before is just gone through and saved these two things as an effect. Here I'm going to actually I'll show you. Just save it, and then when you bring it up over here, you'll see it. Now I saved mine as FJ8553ET, so I already have it. So that's the same thing. You can just drag it over. So basically, that's the look, like in a very quick way. Now I can show you on the next clip how quick we can do this. So I know here you got to put your raw to log conversion. I like the Nikon log. I choose that. I'm going to leave my white balance. I'm going to change my white balance to 5600 because I know my film stock is daylight. And I'm going to just drag this over, and boom, look at that. Like right away, you get a great look. You can, if you want to go into it, add a little more contrast. You can go into your contrast, add a little bit more if you want, like maybe 4 there. You can put your sharpness up a little bit, things like that. But right off the bat, like you're going from, log to that. And it knows your camera. You can use any camera, and from shot to shot, it just makes matching it so much better. So when I say a few clicks, I mean a few clicks. So here, I shot this at 640, 5000. I'm going to change this to 5600. I'm going to drag over. I'm actually going to go into my log and choose Nikon. Drag it over. Look at that. Look at that look. Look how quick I can get a really, really nice color grade that is professional looking and can emulate motion picture stock. If you're not a colorist like me, but you really want nice colors without degrading your image, you get the best quality, this is actually a great process to follow. So if you get some value out of this, I'd love for you to follow me, follow along, and we can create a great community. So, and please remember, be you, believe in yourself. You can do it. Thank you.